Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another mostly pointless bike review. This time the Inspired Arcade, the third generation arcade, I think. This is a mostly pointless bike review because you can't really get the third generation frame anymore. You can still get an arcade. It's only slightly different. But the real reason this is mostly pointless is because it doesn't really matter what I say about this bike. People are going to buy them. They're going to sell out. So, whatever. I'll tell you how I got mine set up. I'll tell you how I like it. I'll tell you things I don't like about it. And we'll go from there. Maybe you'll learn something. So here we go. So I got my arcade a little over a year ago thanks to Brexit. When the Brexit vote happened overnight, the pound went to an all-time low, or almost an all-time low to the American dollar. So it was a great time for me to snap up an arcade frame. I got it for a really, really good price because normally they are out of my range. But the opportunity presented itself, so I had to get one. And when I saw this frame originally, I thought, oh my god, a green arcade, I love it. And since it's an olive drab, I thought of the P40 Warhawk, because who wouldn't, right? And the most famous P40 Warhawks were the Flying Tigers, so I have mine set up like it's a Flying Tiger. I've got my little tiger here, I've got the red stripe for the 3rd Squadron, the Hells Angels, and up front I have the old Chinese star, which is now the Taiwanese star. So this is the 3rd generation of the arcade frame, I'm pretty sure. There were 2 before this. There was the one that was all black was the original one, I'm pretty sure. And then there was the one that was like midnight red, which was really, 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 really dark, but slightly red. And neither one of those really appealed to me because I don't really like black bikes. And they were too expensive too. So when the green one came out, I waited till the price went down and bam, got it. And these didn't last very long. These were only out, it seemed like they were only out for a couple of months before it just disappeared. And then the newest generation, the Christmas ornament red one, came out, and some of those are still available, I think, and there'll be another one. I mean, you know, the arcade's a big seller, so they're going to keep making them. Kind of a bummer that the green one went away so fast. I really like it. But hey, I got mine, so that's all good. There's only a couple of small changes from any of the other arcades. They changed the head tube length just slightly. They, you know, little tweaks here and there, maybe on some of the welds and stuff. I'm not all particularly sure about the ins and outs of all of that, but there were very subtle changes from the original arcades and from the newest generation arcades. So it's basically set up like that. So let's talk about the front end. So the arcade is a steel bike. It's a steel frame. It's a steel fork. It's heavy. It's really nice steel. It's really nicely done. I don't know if it's chromoly steel. I don't think they really point that out necessarily, but it feels great. It feels pretty good, but it is noticeably heavier than most other Street Trials bikes that are not steel. On the front end, I'm running a DT Swiss hub, a 240S disc. It's 15mm through axle. It's nice and light. This is what used to be on my Ozani's iron. So this bike has gotten a lot of cast-offs from the iron because I had the iron first, and as I changed things or improved things, I gave them to the arcade. This has been a great hub. I love DT Swiss bearings. I've got DT Swiss on a lot of my other bikes. I feel they're very long-lasting. It's very lightweight. It's simple. It gets the job done. It's a great company. You know, their customer service is really good. Not that I've ever needed it, but you know, if you have any questions, they get back to you like that. I am running 200mm rotors on the arcade, just because I wanted to try it out, and I had some adapters lying around, so I figured, okay, I'll get some bigger rotors and I'll put the adapters on and I'll see what it's like. And yes, it increases your braking power. It does. Significantly? Maybe. I'm not exactly sure. Bigger rotors are certainly easier to damage. They stick out more. You can hit a ledge when you come off. You know, they are heavier. They're about the same price, luckily. I mean, these are the Magura Storm HC rotors. They're the same price as any other size. I like the Maguras because they're a little bit thicker, which hopefully means they're a little stiffer, and hopefully they'll last a little longer. I don't know. These have been going great. I've always had good luck with Maguras. I'm running a Magura MT5 up front. Excuse me. MT5 to an MT5 lever. I've said it before, I love the MT5s. I have had no problems with them. It's as adjustable as I need it. It gets the job done. It's kind of set and forget, which is what I really like. I don't like to tweak with things forever and ever and ever. Now let's talk about this fork, because the arcade fork I have some issues with. This fork by itself probably weighs as much as the frame. It is incredibly heavy. It comes with a steer that's about this long, and you have to cut it off to something more manageable. I don't know, maybe there's some fantastically tall people that order these bikes that need that extra steer, but for most mortal people, you don't need that much steer, and you cut it off and it weighs a lot less because it just weighs a frickin' ton. Another thing, this is not a real through axle. They advertise it as a through axle. It's not a through axle. It's really heavy. It's like solid steel, and it basically consists of one really, really big bolt and then another bolt on the other side that threads into the first bolt, and they're really, really heavy. They're cones, so that it's they say it's self-centers, but it's like, I mean, a through axle self-centers. You can't thread it wrong. I mean, it goes through, and that's about it. Anyway, they say that they wanted to allow for 10mm axles to fit on there as well, or your regular standard skewer-based things or whatever, and you have to get a little adapter thing for it to work. But it does have cutouts so that you can put your old school front hub on there, and you wouldn't have to use it as a through axle. If you're buying an arcade, you've already spent a ton of money, so why not just spend a little extra and get another hub that actually works with a through axle, because a through axle is better. But wait, it's not a through axle, so it doesn't really matter. So that's my one big gripe with Inspired about this. It's not a through axle, and this fork is way, way too heavy. There's no reason you couldn't run an aluminum fork on there, except that aluminum trowels forks for a 24-inch that are through axles are really hard to come by. So beyond that, other than that, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't have a tab for routing the hose, because that creates a stress riser and can cause accidents, or cause it to crack over the life of the fork or something. So anyway, that's not there, so I just use electrical tape. It's fine. It's run through the steer and routed through, so I can do bar spins. Not that I can actually do bar spins, but if someday I can, I'll be able to. I've got the Spank Spike Race 33 rims again. I have these. These were originally on the Ozonis iron, like I said. They're great. They're fine. I'm running aluminum or alloy nipples, because I think you can get those tighter. They're nice and tight. The wheels stayed true. Got the Holy Rollers on here because I'm a big fan of Holy Rollers. They don't break the bank. They last a long time. The rubber stays supple in the sand, because I ride in the sand a lot. Or in sandy conditions, I'd say. Not actually in the sand, but there's lots of sand around. The rubber stays supple, whereas the Kendas, the K-Rads, they get really brittle after you've been in the sand for a while. So for the price, it's really hard to beat the Holy Rollers. Unfortunately, for 24-inch tires, there's really just not that much selection. There's like 6 tires to choose from, so you can try them all in a weekend, and there you go. There's all the tires available for you. But luckily, the Holy Rollers are available. The Holy Rollers come in 20 inches, 24 inches, and 26 inches, so you can have an entire arsenal of the Holy Rollers. And I love them. They're great. They're light. They're inexpensive. It's 2.4 inches. Yeah, they're great. Love them. Let's move on. Okay, so now the rear end of the bike, business end, so to speak. Start at the cranks. I've got a Hope bottom bracket on here. It's steel, stainless steel ball bearings, and it's really good. I don't know if I'm necessarily that much more damaging or punishing on bottom brackets, but it seemed like a good idea. The price was right, whatever. So I got the Hope stainless steel bottom bracket on here, and I'm just running regular SLX cranks. The SLXs were originally on my iron. They are again cast-offs, so they've got plenty of scuffs and scrapes on them because they are very used. Still doing the job. They're 175s. They've been great. They're light enough. They're stiff enough. So I'm still running them. These are the cut-down versions. I'll show you the other side where it's cut down. The HT pedals. These are the MEO3s, the magnesium ones. I just kind of came into these pedals. I originally wanted the aluminum ones, but I got the magnesium ones instead because I don't exactly remember why anymore. But anyway, so I have the magnesium ones. They're light. Unfortunately, the pins are aluminum, because if you had stainless steel pins and you hit something too hard, it might actually bend the pedal body since it's magnesium. So the pins are aluminum, which means anything you hit, the pins will break. It comes with a bag full of pins, so you can change them out, but just know that anything you hit with these aluminum pins, the pin's going to break. So just be prepared for that. This is a gusset Sam Pilgrim saddle with an integrated seat post. It's really, really light. I don't know why they're not more widely available. It gets the job done. You know, you hardly ever sit on it. It's comfortable enough for what I need. Moving on. I'm running the MT7 brake in the back. I had a friend who was sponsored by Magura, and then he changed sponsors to Shimano, so he's running a Saint now, and he had no more use for his MT7, so he gave it to me. This particular MT7, I've had a couple of issues with. It had some, like, I don't know, maybe it's just that I'm bleeding it wrong, or I don't know, but I have to do more maintenance than I want to this brake. But since it was free, that's okay. It's got the MT7 lever, and it's, you know, when it works, it's great. But I've just had better luck with the MT5s. That's all I'm saying. Again, 200mm rotor with the adapter. It's the same Magura Magura Storm HC rotor. And I've got a profile hub in the back. And the profile hub was originally on the Ozanis. That's why it's purple. Although purple kind of looks good with this bike. I don't know. I liked it. I used to have a Hope purple hub up front. It also used to be on the Ozanis. And I thought it looked pretty good together. But anyway, now it's black up front and still a purple in the back. Now, the profile, I don't know if I won the lottery or something, but I don't know. I had enough money to buy the profile at some point, so I bought one because I'd always wanted one. I had heard so much about it. You know, 208 points of engagement, and you know, they're pretty light. The Industry 9 that I'm running on the Ozanis is lighter by like maybe 20 or 30 grams. So not a lot, but whatever. I mean, this one just has pimp factor. I mean, people will come from like all the way across the skate park or, you know, far away when they hear it, and they're just like, hey man, is that a profile? So it's got a lot of street cred from the BMX crowd and from people who just like profile. But this is like a $450 hub, and you probably can't really tell on there, but it's it just wasn't built right. And Profile has great customer service. I called them up. Actually, I emailed them, sorry. I emailed them, they got back to me right away. I told them what my problem was, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, you can't tighten the cones because that's not how these hubs are built. You have to use a shim. So I'd have to send it back to them and get it shimmed to properly, you know, to fix that. And honestly, guys, I paid $450 for this hub. Do you think maybe you could have built it right in the first place, perhaps? Okay? So that's my big beef with that. Otherwise, it's great. I love the sound. The infinite number of engagements is freaking awesome. But yeah, guys, just do a little better job. You don't even get free shipping when you buy it from them. I mean, that's just nuts. So anyway, I probably won't get another profile because i9s are just better in every way, it seems. But this is actually purple. Everybody else, when they call it purple, it's not really purple. This is actually purple. So kudos to Profile for knowing what purple really is. I got the Elite cog set or whatever, so I have to use Elite cogs. I broke the first one. The first one that was an Elite. Now this is just a regular stainless steel cog. 22 to 16, so pretty standard. This is a stainless steel sprocket up front. That's I think it's a Shimano because they're like $8. Again, the arcade chain tensioners. I'm bending these on the drive side as well, but they bend back, no big deal. I got some titanium oversized bolts to put in there because it saves like 10 pounds over the bolts that come with it. Actually, Profile has an option for titanium bolts that are really nice. They're like cone shaped, kind of cool. But I went to these because they're just chunkier, and I don't know, I just like them better. So that's it. Spank Spike Race 33 rim in the back, alloy nipples, DT Swiss spokes, Holy Roller. Same as most of my other bikes. Gets the job done. I love them. The price is right. You know, you don't go through them every year. This one's, I don't know. This one's probably a couple of years old because I've had these tires on numerous different bikes. Yeah. Oh yes, another thing. Okay, so this arcade frame, the rear triangle here, when there's nothing in it, it's a little bit sprung. And I measured it. It is 130. It's over 135 when the hub is out. So when you go to put the hub in and you go to tighten it down, it's like it pulls the frame in, which when you have to adjust your chain tensioners, that's a little bit of a bummer. So it's kind of a pain in the ass to do that because the frame is sprung. But I've kind of gotten used to it, so it's not that big of a deal anymore, but still, it would be nice if it were, you know, the actual size that it was supposed to be, so that when you stick it in, it doesn't move, and you can just tighten it down and go. Whatever. Only a small thing. I do change out stuff quite often just because I like trying different stuff. So any extra adjustment that has to be done, I just don't like it. So there's that. Other than that, the arcade has been great. I mean, you know, I can't say anything bad about it that's actually going to change anybody's opinion, but it is a good bike. It feels good. It gaps well. It does everything that you could ask it to do. Obviously, there's some incredibly talented people that are riding it. I'm not exactly one of them. I have a lot of fun on this bike, but I don't exactly impress the world with what I do on it. I love the color. I like the way it feels. It's heavy, but it's steel, so I kind of knew what I was getting into with that. So now I have 2 steel Street Trials bikes. My next one will probably be aluminum, but whatever. Now I'll show you the other side here, what I've done. Okay, so like I was saying, I've got the SLX crankset on here, and the SLX, it's like the M962, or I don't know, everything Shimano is all numbers, so I'd have to go look it up. I don't think they're actually available anymore. Maybe they're not made anymore, but they might be available in some markets if you can find them. It is a triple crank ring usually, and I just cut off the other 2. It's a 64 to 104, I think. So I just cut off the 104 bits and filed them down, and I just used the 64 inner ring that you put a 22 on, and it's really tight. I actually had to file down the 4 posts that the 22 tooth chainring mounts onto so that it would actually clear the frame. Yeah, it's kind of a bastardized way to do it. The Inspired one is just heavy though, and it's really expensive. I picked this up for like 50 bucks maybe, I think, brand new, for the Ozani's iron. So it's a hand-me-down to this bike, but it works still. I've had no problems with it. It doesn't seem to flex. 175 millimeters, all good. Now, it doesn't give me a bash guard on here. I could have left 2 of the rings and put the, made a little bash guard or whatever, but I did what Ali C did with one of his arcades, and I cut a BMX chainring down and put it on the actual bottom bracket underneath, so there's just a little bit of a bash guard, and I'll show you in a second, but it gets used quite a bit. So here's what's going on underneath. Again, this is just like Ali C explained and built his. It's a BMX 28 tooth chainring that I cut down, that I cut just this part that I needed and drilled out the 24 hole or 36 or whatever that size is, and just stuck it on there, and it's just big enough that it protects my chainring. And I've hit it a couple of times, you can see, and there's some damage here. There's lots of layers of paint on Inspired frames. I've heard that if you strip an Inspired frame of all the paint, it'll weigh a pound less. I don't know if that's actually true, but there's a lot of paint on here, you can see from the scratches, and where it's scratched through the paint, it's promptly rusting, so I'll have to take care of those spots. Okay, again, the cockpit is pretty standard. I've got a triple B 90 by 35 stem because I'm only 5'11", so I don't need the extra reach or the extra height. It's an arcade bar because I have like 3 arcade bars. I really like the arcade bars. There are actually some lighter ones out there now that have basically the same geometry, which is nice, but since I have so many of them, why buy more? It's really wide. I haven't cut them down. I just deal with the length, whatever. MT5 for the front brake, MT7 for the rear brake. MT7's got all these adjustment things, and they will pop off eventually when you crash, and you'll have springs flying, and that's super fun. You can't get rid of it though. There's like a post insert to get rid of the little adjuster thing once you've got it adjusted. Whatever. It's just more than I need really, but since it was free, there you go. Got the cable routed through the hose. Inspired. It is kind of nice that the inside is threaded. However, it wasn't threaded far enough for what I needed, so I had to go out and buy a big, huge honkin' tap to thread it some more so that I could use their threaded top cap. But once it's all done, it works great. But threading this steel and this steer was no fun at all. But it's done, like I said, and I don't have to adjust that anymore ever again. And I have the Echo foam grips on here, and I don't really like them, but they're on there really well, and I'm just too lazy to take them off, really. But they are really, 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 really hard. It's kind of like concrete. I'm not exactly sure why it's called foam, because there's really not a lot of give there. So it's kind of jarring on doing a lot of front end stuff, but whatever. I just haven't changed it yet. Eventually I'll get around to it. They'll wear out, maybe. Yeah, someday I'll change that. So there you have it. There's my 3rd generation arcade, my Flying Tiger. I love this bike. I ride it quite a bit because I don't mind damaging it, so I'm trying new stuff. I ride this one because it's replaceable. I know I can get another arcade if I can come up with the money somehow. I'm not riding my Ozanis so much anymore because it's precious to me. So anything that damages it it's irreplaceable. So this one gets ridden a lot more. I'm starting to change out some pieces and parts to make it a little more custom. There isn't really much that I bought specifically for this bike. It was a lot of hand-me-downs, but I wanted the 2 bikes to be pretty similar to compare them. And honestly, they are pretty comparable. This bike doesn't really do anything that the Ozanis doesn't do. This is like a 1,000mm wheelbase, and the Ozanis is 1085 or 985 or 980. But they spin just as well, each of them. I mean, they're pretty interchangeable. I measured so that my the geometry for me, the way I ride it, is basically the same, the way they're set up. But this one has a plus 25 bottom bracket. The chainstay is slightly longer on this one, but not significantly. So they're very, very comparable. This one is a little heavier, but I haven't optimized it as well as I have my iron. So there are a couple of things that I could get the weight down if I really wanted to, but it's fine. I mean, everything on here is bulletproof. It's strong. It's not going to break. So I can ride it like crazy and not have to worry about anything. And you know, the people who really sell these frames, like Ali C and the other guys who ride them professionally, the way I ride it, nothing. I'm not going to do any damage to this bike. So it's a great bike. I encourage you to get one if you can find one. The green ones, they're all gone, but you know, I love them. If you like the Christmas tree red, those are still available. And who knows what's going to be next, but I'm sure they'll make plenty more of them so that they can sell out instantly. Thanks for watching.